Hi everybody, welcome back. Glad you could tune in again. So we begin now at Colossians chapter 3 verse 5 with some of these gritty, practical, ethical instructions from Paul the Apostle to the church in Colossae, which have some very significant implications for us. Verse 5, put to death therefore whatever is earthly in you, sexual immorality, impurity, passion, evil desire, and covetousness, which is idolatry. On account of these the wrath of God is coming. In these you too once walked when you were living in them, but now you must put them all away: anger, wrath, malice, slander, and obscene talk from your mouth. Do not lie to one another, seeing that you have put off the old self with its practices and have put on the new self, which is being renewed in knowledge after the image of its creator. Here there is no Greek and Jew, circumcised and uncircumcised, barbarian, Scythian, slave, free, but Christ is all and in all. Let me make a couple of observations about this then. First, just beginning with the last 2 or 3 verses, notice again the theologically grounded optimism that Paul the Apostle encourages us to embrace as we start to reflect on these ethical injunctions. We noted last time that Paul isn't intending to introduce any doubt into our minds about whether we've been raised with Christ. You have been raised with Christ. You've died with him. You've been raised with him. We're one with him. And it's in his power and grace that we are to walk as we take on these ethical, moral challenges around us. Well, so also here, you have put off the old self with its practices, verse 9. It's a decisive change that Paul seems to think has happened in us in being made one with Christ. Verse 10, you have put on the new self. There is a decisive change in status that takes place when somebody turns to Christ, or perhaps more generally, there's a decisive difference between somebody who's walking with Christ and somebody who is not. It's an objective, substantive difference in our relationship with Christ, which grants us a measure of renewed capacity to resist sin and walk in righteousness. And we must never imagine ourselves unable to fight against the kinds of sins that Paul is listing here. We're not unable to do so. And it's remarkable. Look at this, look at Romans 6 in your own time, and notice the sheer, full-blooded optimism and positive spirit that Paul the Apostle conveys in seeking to urge his readers to put sin to death. So with that in mind, we turn to some of the specifics here. And it is interesting, actually, that as so often elsewhere in Paul's writings, it is sexual sin that leads the way, tops the list of Paul's catalogue of features of ungodliness in the world around us that we must turn away from and put off, as he puts it. You've got it here, you've got it in the book of Romans, you've got it elsewhere. Verse 5, put to death therefore whatever is earthly in you. And what tops the list? Sexual immorality, impurity, passion, evil desire, and covetousness, which interestingly, covetousness, ungodly and sinful desire, then makes the transition from those sexually oriented desires to idolatry, which comes at the end of the list in verse 5. And that's worth reflecting on for a moment. You have this list of different forms of sexual sin and impurity and lust and ungodliness in the sexual realm, covetousness, ungodly desire generally, and then idolatry, actually the worship of a false god. And it serves to highlight the seriousness of these issues. And we're living in an age where particularly sexualized images are more available to us. The very device that you're watching this video on now could be used very easily to watch other material. And let me tell you in no uncertain terms that that other material will ruin you. It will destroy you. It will make your other relationships, particularly with present or future marriage partners, corrupted and ruined by the misplaced vision of human physicality and sexuality that you will have gained from those images if you indulge in them. Those issues of sexual immorality, and particularly in relation to pornography, are not to be thought of lightly. So I encourage you, if that's something that you're conscious that you're tempted by, or have even indulged in the past, I encourage you to get help, either from Pastor Neil or myself. Come and talk to us, or you may find online resources which are helpful in providing accountability or a measure of protection from some of those resources. But please don't do nothing. Those issues top the list here for a reason. Briefly, as Paul continues, notice again the optimism with which Paul views our capacity to turn away from them. Verse 7, in these too you once lived when you were living in them, but now you must put them all away. You used to live like that, but now you must put them all away. There is a battle to be engaged in, but it is not a battle in which we are powerless. And so we must call upon that power which in Christ is available to us through the Spirit and seek to put them all away. And then the list of sins continues in verses 8 and 9. It may be worth just taking a look at that list and reflecting prayerfully on it. But I think that'll probably do us for now. The Lord bless you. I look forward to seeing you soon. Bye for now.